Hello students, welcome to my channel Somalin Inspire World. So today I am going to discuss about the process of nervous action. And this nervous action is of three types. They are reflex action, involuntary action and voluntary action. So the reflex action, it is the automatic response to the stimulus and it takes place all of a sudden. So the examples are the withdrawal of hand upon touching a hot object and the closing of the eyelid when an object is suddenly approaching towards our eye. So next one is the involuntary action, and this type of nervous action, it takes place without the brain activity. And the examples are the peristaltic movement and the beating of the heart. Here the peristaltic movement of the food pipe, when the food is moving through it, this activity occurs without the activity of the brain. Then the voluntary action, and this type of action occurs with the help of the brain. And the examples are talking with friends, eating food, etc. So in this video we will discuss in detail about the reflex action. Then come to the reflex action and the reflex arc. As I have discussed earlier that what is reflex action? It is the automatic response or the sudden response to a stimulus. And this type of reflex action, it occurs without the knowledge of the brain. So it is totally an involuntary type of action. And to complete this reflex action, the stimulus, it follows a pathway that is known as the reflex arc. And here the word arc means the bending. So reflex action is this is the arc type structure. As the reflex action, it takes the path of a bending like structure. So this is known as the reflex arc. So let's see which type of neurons are involved in this process. So as we know, the reflex action and the sense organs, they sense the heat, light, sound, etc. So I have taken here the heat as the stimulus. So when a finger is put in the flame of the candle, then this acts as a heat stimulus, and this stimulus, it will sense through the sensory neuron, and this sensory neuron will carry the impulse in this pathway through this axon, and finally the axon ending, they will transmit the impulse to the dendrite of the relay neuron or the interneuron. And this interneuron, it helps in the transmission of impulse from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So after transferring the impulse to the relay neuron, the impulse, it will send to the motor neuron through the dendrites of the motor neuron, and again in this way the impulse, it will pass through the axon terminal, and these axon terminals are with the direct contact with the effector organs, and the effector organ is the bicep and the tricep muscle of the hand. So after the sending of this impulse, the biceps and triceps, they will contract and it will move to perform the actions. So as the reflex action, it takes the structure of a bend-like structure, so this pathway is known as the reflex arc. And here one thing, that this is the spinal cord. As the reflex action, it occurs without the knowledge of brain, so all these activities, they will carry out in the spinal cord, which is present in the vertebral column of our backside. And the spinal cord, it has two parts, that is the white part and the that is the white part, and the white part is known as the white matter, and the grey part, that is known as the grey matter. And this part is white due to presence of the myelin sheath on the axon. As this white matter, it contains the axon part of the neuron, and the axon, it contains the myelin sheath, which is a white material. So this part of the spinal cord, it appears white, and the central part, it appears grey due to presence of the cell body, and these cell bodies of the neurons are grey in color. So this part of the spinal cord, it appears grey in color. And there is also a part present which also sends the impulse to the brain. As the reflex action, it occurs without the knowledge of brain. So after the completion of the action, the brain, it knows about this function. So in this way, the reflex action, it completes its pathway. So again, I want to review the whole pathway. So the reflex act pathway, it starts with the stimulus. Then the stimulus, it will received by the receptors, that are the thermoreceptors that are present in the skin, and these receptors, they will then send this stimulus to the sensory neuron, and this sensory neuron, in this way, it will send the impulse to the relay neuron, and the relay neuron, again, it will send the impulse to the motor neuron, and again the motor neuron, as they are contact with the muscles, so they will show their activity on different types of muscles, or bicep and tricep muscles, and finally they will contract and perform their actions. So this is the whole circuit of the reflex act. If you like my video, then like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.